What is up, everyone? It is I, the man with the very deep voice that always speaks in synonyms. You are here because you clicked on this video, and I have a video for you. Today, you are going to use your mouse to click the like button. Begin subscribing to my channel. And if you are already subscribed, continue subscribing to my channel. So today, by the popular request of absolutely no one, I'm doing a video about the stamina driver submeta of Classic. And while it's not as deep as the standard one since opposite spin isn't as prevalent, there's still more to it than people give it credit for. And first off, before this video begins, I'd like to say that whenever I mention Eternal in the video, I'm referring to both the TT Eternal and the Hasbro Eternal -S because they perform pretty much identically. And when I say Orbit, I'm talking about both Orbit and Orbit Metal. There's some debate as to whether these two are basically the same or if the normal Orbit is slightly better, but they perform pretty similarly to the point where they can be considered basically the same driver in this context. So let's start out with the standard Revolve driver. This is a cone-shaped tip that has pretty much the best raw stamina out of any driver in Classic, meaning that in same spin it will generally outspin Defense and Eternal. However, it will be outprocessed by most dedicated opposite spin drivers, and it's pretty consistently knocked off balance and destabilized by Orbit. To maximize its performance in same spin, use Gravity. In opposite spin, Yell. And if you want, I guess, a mix between the two, Spread is probably the best option, though Ring can work as well. Up next is Orbit, which is the best destabilizing tip in Classic due to the raw efficiency of the free spinning ball, which also provides pretty top tier burst defense without the use of a dash driver spring. Orbit excels at knocking cone-shaped tips like Revolve, Eternal, and Absorb -S off balance, and destabilizing them in same spin. However, it's unable to consistently destabilize smaller ball-shaped tips like Defense and Yard -S, and loses to most dedicated opposite spin setups, including Revolve. Any number of discs can work well on Orbit, but Gravity tends to be a favorite as Orbit covers its weaknesses quite nicely. Then we have Defense, which is best used as a counter to Orbit in same spin due to its ability to resist destabilization. However, similarly to Orbit, it loses to most opposite spin setups including Revolve, and while it can generally outspin Eternal in same spin, it doesn't have the raw stamina to consistently compete with Revolve. This creates a general triangle of rock, paper, scissors, shoe in same spin between Revolve, Orbit, and Defense. Eternal is more of a driver that's best used for opposite spin, though compared to the other viable opposite spin setups like Polish Destroy Dash, Polish Absorb, and Gravity Octa, it has the best same spin performance out of all of those, with a combination of stamina and burst defense, making it more common than those. It's capable of outspinning basically all non-opposite spin drivers in opposite spin, so anything besides those other three that I mentioned previously. So, it will generally beat Revolve, Defense, Orbit, and Yard -S in opposite spin, and it loses to most of those in same spin, though I have a theory that it can sometimes resist being destabilized by Yard -S due to the height disparity between the two. Yard -S is taller than the average driver and Eternal is shorter. And sometimes I also have a theory that using a destabilizing layer like Dark Death Scyther, Jormunter J2, or Orpheus O2 may give it a better chance versus same spin Revolve due to the height difference as well, though those generally do not work on a cone-shaped driver very well. Yard -S, as much as the name has become kind of a meme in the community, it's legitimately a good driver, and it acts like a mix between Defense and Orbit because that's basically what it is. It's able to counter Orbit, but not as consistently as Defense in same spin,
and it's also able to destabilize Revolve and Eternal, but not as consistently as Orbit does. Its opposite spin performance, however, is slightly better than both Defense and Orbit, due to the smoother ring around its exterior compared to the other two. But it still really can't compete with a dedicated opposite spin setup. Now we come to Absorb-S, specifically the Hasbro one, which is actually a driver I do not have, but it is probably one of the best overall stamina drivers in Classic. In same spin, its performance is basically identical to that of Revolve, and in opposite spin, its performance is basically identical to that of Eternal, meaning that it effectively outclasses both. However, being cone-shaped, it's still vulnerable to destabilization, and like I said, it's exclusive to the Hasbro version, meaning that as the Takara Tomy version has the actual plate that depresses and makes it move aggressively, it does not work as well as Absorb-S, which can be launched hard and not move aggressively. So lastly, we come to the Tornado Stalling drivers, which include Excel, Zephyr, Assault, and Iron. These have a pretty neutral matchup against everything in the same spin, because there isn't a lot of contact between the two drivers the two combos until late game, meaning that there's not much of a chance for destabilization to come into play. However, all other things being equal, generally in a mirror match between a Tornado Stalling driver and a stationary driver, the stationary one will outspin, meaning that something like Death Scyther Gravity Revolve will outspin Death Scyther Gravity Iron most of the time. Additionally, a ball-shaped, semi-mobile driver like Orbit or Yard-S can meet them head-on at the Tornado Ridge if they're both hard-launched, which can either ruin their Tornado Stall, but in this situation, both parties risk being KO'd. Also, these lose to practically anything opposite spin just because of their lack of precision. And Gravity, Spread, and Ring are the best choices for them, just to them maximize from the combo's outward weight distribution, which means that it will both move faster and have a higher solo spin time. And one other thing that's weird but kind of notable is Liner, Liner Dash, and Liner Dash S. I don't have the latter two, I only have the standard Liner. For some reason, which I really can't explain, these drivers are good for raw stamina, and on layers like the Hasbro Kirbyus, they are able to, and Yggdrasil, they're able to compete with Revolve, Defense, Orbit, and Yard-S. But due to their pretty cruddy shape, they're very easy to knock off balance, and they have really bad opposite spin performance as well, so I think while they're worth mentioning, I'm not convinced that they're necessarily more viable than any of the other drivers I've discussed in this video. So that about covers it for the stamina driver sub-meta in Burst Classic. If I've made another diagram like I did a long time ago for Standard, I'll post that here, but hopefully this clears up some of the confusion about what driver is good for what in this format, and hopefully gave you a few recommendations of what to use if you hadn't already heard of them. I have one more video that's planned that will go up eventually, but for now, I'll see you guys later.